Shannon is entering her third year of college and has just moved into an apartment with three of her friends. She knows her friends really well, but has never lived with them. Shannon values cleanliness and wants to ensure she and her roommates agree to balance their chores and responsibilities in order to keep things clean. But she knows that they are busy and sometimes struggle to manage their time. If only there is a way to track the work we need to do and hold my roommates accountable. Hello, I'm Victoria Stauffer, and I'm the project manager of Homiies.
I'm Leong, and I'm the UX lead.
I'm Lindsey, and I'm the content lead.
Hi, I'm Dolma, and I'm the UI lead. Yeah, I think Mikayla just joined. It seems like she's leaving and coming in.
I'm here.
Dolma. Okay, cool. Yeah, if you could just introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Mikayla, and I'm the dev lead.
Okay, next slide. So yeah, and together we spent the last 10 weeks on building our app Homiies. So the app started off as a platform to help you manage household duties among your roommates collaboratively. However, after extensive research and testing and hours of discussion, we have evolved to become an app that offers more than just managing household. Instead, we now aim to foster a roommate living dynamic that is respected, well communicated, fair, and appreciated. So here's just a overview process timeline. So over the 10 weeks, we followed a UX design process. We started off by understanding and empathizing with our users, of course, and also did secondary research of competitive apps through task flows. We then used our understanding to start ideating for the low fidelity prototype. And this was followed by our first round of usability testing. And the results from this testing stimulated our second round of user research to understand more of the core problem and hone our core functionality. And of course, another round of ideation for our mid-fidelity, which is also followed by another round of usability testing. Next slide.
So like Dolma mentioned, we wanted to make sure we took time to focus on researching and empathizing with our user demographic in order to develop the concepts for our app. One of the ways we did this was by starting our process by conducting simple preliminary interviews, asking 5 brief questions. And these questions were, do you have good relationships with your roommates? How do you currently manage your household activities? How is your current method effective? What problems or challenges do you face living with roommates? And what is something you wish you had to help you stay on top of shared responsibilities? Some of the insights we've received can be captured by these quotes. We had people tell us things like, I ask roommates to do something, but they won't do it right away. And this idea of reliability, trust, and responsiveness is definitely a pain point we saw across the board. Another one is, it feels like it's rude when someone asks someone to do something, which highlights a theme of passive aggressiveness and communication in general. Others rely more on mutual responsibility, saying if they see something dirty, then they clean it up. There was also definitely another aspect to roommates where the dynamic was more strained. In one interview, we noted that they, quote unquote, do everything because they don't trust their roommates. Next slide. Along with these interviews, we also designed, created, and sent out a comprehensive online survey to gain insights on living with roommates. This survey gained 44 responses from students ranging from 18 to 23 years old, which is our target demographic of college students. Some highlights from the survey include 31 out of 44 respondents expressed that they had no form of roommate agreement. The majority of them did not have a particular system for managing chores and responsibilities. 35 of the respondents indicated that they thought household chores should be done mutually, and 36 participants preferred that issues be confronted in person. Aside from empathizing with our user demographic, we were also interested in researching other apps that are meeting a similar goal. The three main apps that we did competitive analysis on are Splitwise, Our Home, and Homiies. Splitwise is a bill and expense manager app. This app provided us inspiration for our onboarding process of creating a group and setting up an account. We also studied this app specifically to look into the options it provided to make splitting payments efficient and more intuitive. Our Home is a chore management app designed for families with children. What we liked from this app were the suggestions for chore categories specifically. And we also liked that you can like or comment on recent task activity. Homie is another similar app. We really liked the visualization in this app, like the charts and progress bars. And these competitive analyses informed and influenced a lot of our design decisions, as well as general layout and architecture of our app.
So after our initial research that Anna just explained, we all got a better idea of what kind of a product we want in mind. So what we did is that we had everyone do several sketches of the wireframe, and together we discussed, and as a result, we created this low fidelity prototype. So we have established 4 main pages. They are home, task, money, and to-do page. You can see all the pages in the navbar at the very bottom. So the home page is a place where you can be updated about the activities going around the house in terms of chores. And we also have the household tab where users can be reminded of household. For the task page, it's basically a page where you can see everyone's task and who it is assigned to. And it can also be in calendar mode. Next slide, please. We have the money page, which is where you can keep track of your of the money shared among your roommate, and it is split between rent and bills, utility bill. And last, we have the to-do page, which is basically a personal to-do list for you to keep track of your own tasks. And from here, you can also update your status to your roommate, set new tasks, and also reassign your task to someone else. Next.
Yeah, so in our first round of usability testing, our team learned that we weren't really reaching our users' goals. So in the low fidelity prototype, our users didn't like how we organized certain things, such as tasks on the home page as well as the task page, because it seemed overwhelming for the users. Another thing that users were confused with were naming conventions for pages or section titles, such as our money page and request section. They were confusing placement of iconography. Users weren't really understanding that some buttons were prompted extra options and the purpose of our nudge feature. And based on the feedback that we were receiving, we originally thought that our key problem between roommates was communication. But it was actually splitting the balance of household responsibilities. In the low fidelity prototype, we prioritize this task management system, which Dolma talked about, where you can add, delete, and assign chores, but it just seemed to do nothing to help the user address that passive aggressive tone that they have with their roommates.
So after we did our usability testing, we decided to sort of take a step back and do some more research. So in this step, we did user flow analyses where a few of us took specific task flows from our app and analyzed the flow or the cycle of them. So the first one, which is the one that you see on screen, is the requesting help on a task. So if a user had to do a chore, but they were out of town or couldn't complete it for some reason, they would have the ability to request help on it. But in doing this user flow, we discovered that there's an endless loop problem where if a user requests help, but no one accepts to help them, then it'll just circle back to the original user and they could keep sending it through that loop. So that was a problem we discovered. We also worked through the onboarding process and found the question, what should come first? So should users create a profile before adding themselves to a group, or should users add themselves to a group and then be prompted to create a profile? And then finally, we did the creating a task user flow, and we discovered the question of what qualifies as a task in a bill. And so each of these analyses sort of developed into a discussion of these problems and our interpretations of what our app should be doing.
So as a lot of these key questions came up in all of our discussions, we took a step back and decided to conduct a problem interview, a solution interview, and then another usability test. So the purpose of taking the step back and conducting the problem interview was because we really wanted to validate the pain point we were solving for our users, because a lot of situations came up as we did our initial interviews and as we had our initial discussions. So we really wanted to stick to like a niche challenge that we were solving. And what we learned was that, again, roommates had a difficult time communicating with their roommates, but it was really about feeling like they had a balance of effort and were appreciating each other's efforts. So that's really what we learned from the problem interview and how we wanted to turn that into a solution and apply it to our design. And to the right here, you see kind of the process of a problem interview. So we really asked people, or we told people to tell us a story. And this was really important for us because we really wanted to dive into not just what issues were coming up, but why they were coming up. So that was really helpful for us. And we were able to pull a lot of really great insights that, again, translated directly into our new prototype that we were able to do a usability test for.
Next slide. Okay, so like Lindsey mentioned, from our problem interviews, these were the three main pain points finding: appreciation, balance of responsibilities, and miscommunicated expectation. And we made sure that our mid-fidelity prototype addresses these issues. Next slide. So for the appreciation, users felt like their work was not being appreciated, or that others did not even know about the work that they did. And this could sometimes lead to some passive aggressiveness between roommates. Like in this quote, my roommate will say something like, "I did trash, by the way," like almost looking for a gold medal. So this backed up our design for this homepage here. You can see that we have a recent activity section, which tells users what's going on around the house, so they're aware of one another's work. And users can also react to the completion of others' tasks and also comment on them. And this allows the user to feel like they're being recognized and appreciated for the work that they did. Next slide. Balance of responsibilities. So sometimes a roommate is taking on more work than others and therefore require more work, more effort and responsibilities. And this leads to feeling of unfairness and sometimes rude at some point. So in response to this, in the task page, there's a small button that leads you to this pop-up page showing you the effort distribution among the roommate. So each task, when they are made, can be assigned to a certain effort level. So if you look down in the bottom right corner, there's an effort level indicator. So, you know, cleaning toilet takes more work than taking out the trash. So cleaning toilet would have the 3 bars, whereas taking out the trash would have 1 bar. And so the pie chart is based on the effort level set to each task a user is taking on. And so the pie chart becomes a visual indicator, providing insights to the roommate, the current imbalance or balance of the workload. Next slide. So last is miscommunicated expectation. Words about what tasks they should do and how often is not communicated well, leading to confusion on what should be done. So this problem made us realize we need a clear creating a task page with details such as who is doing it, when, what even is the task, how often should it be done, etc. And this is because having a task with all the necessary details sorted out is needed to prevent confusion on what should be done in the first place. We also have a page that can be accessed from the homepage called the roommate agreement page, where we encourage our users to get together and discuss about living expectations. We even have a guide to help with the discussion as well. Next slide.
Yeah, so validating and honing our product to meet those 3 pain points that Dolma thoroughly, really well explained just now of miscommunicated expectations, balancing household responsibilities, and expressing appreciation really helped us move forward in iterating for our mid-fidelity. We used the responses we received from prior testing to inform our design decisions. Some of the major changes during our mid-fidelity, along with what Dolma already mentioned, include adding onboarding screens based on the task flows for creating an account. We also decided to add an add button that you can see here at the bottom navigation bar in the blue for easy access of adding a task or a payment. We chose to remove the to-do page from our low-fidelity wireframe since our users found it confusing, and we decided to replace it with a notification page instead so that they can see activity and respond to notifications at a glance easily.
So in our second round of usability tests, we received more of a positive response from users this time and solved some of our pain points that we were running into in our last usability tests. In this mid-fidelity prototype, our notification system helped users be aware of house activity. Another thing we saw with users where they were engaged with our distribution of tasks tab because they liked the idea of seeing exactly how their roommates were contributing to the household. But users seem to still want to comment or react to messages where they feel like it lacks a little bit of communication for roommates. And another thing we were seeing were users were still unsure how to assign tasks and the difference between adding status updates and tasks and the purpose of our roommate agreement. So based on our users' feedback and the back-end research we've been doing over the course of the term, this is going to transition into the next slide. Some of the functionality we know we'll need to put in place to develop Homiies as a login system, since we are creating an app that involves engaging and communicating with others. We're going to need to collect user data from onboarding processes, adding, removing, and assigning tasks, adding status updates. We'll need a calendar system that is synced with tasks that users are constantly adding, and a payment tracking method for our payment page. And after doing further research, our team has decided to develop our app using Firebase and React. And Victoria will talk about our success criteria and what we're still achieving over the course of winter break and winter term.
So after conducting that last usability test, we were able to refine our elevator pitch. And we noticed that living with roommates isn't easy, and avoiding miscommunicated expectations with avoiding miscommunicated expectations with your roommates. Let homies balance household responsibilities and keep track of who's doing what. So taking all of those pain points that we identified and the solutions to them and really refining down our elevator pitch into what you'd see here.
Yeah, and so we were also able to refine our success criteria, and we decided to say that we would design, develop, and thoroughly test a highly functional prototype of our Homiies app. So this will allow us to try to get as much functionality done as we can without necessarily having to do all of it in the next 10 weeks or so. And so our next steps will look something like this. We've agreed to work a bit over winter break. So during winter break, we're gonna begin to code the basic pages and structures of our app, continue to research microinteractions, research the possible functionality of our payment page. We sort of tabled that because it was growing into sort of a lot of functionality in that one section. So we'll revisit that over the break and next term. And we'll also start to do our case study. Then in winter term, we will continue to do research, conduct multiple rounds of usability testing. I've etched out 2 in week 4 and then in week 7 so that we have time to iterate our prototype and get those changes into our code. And then we'll just continue to code. Around week 3, we'll probably start microinteractions and backend coding. And then by week 9, we should have our final presentation ready, have our high fidelity prototype finalized, and our case study done. But yeah, so that's all. Does anyone have any questions?